Welcome, y'all. It's Wes with DIY Food Plot Pro. Thank you so much for joining us. Today's episode, we are talking about the most drought-tolerant food plot that exists, period, exclamation point. We have had 100-degree temperatures, and we have had zero rain in the last 30 to 40 days. We are in extreme drought here in Western Kentucky. It is mid-September right now, and every food plot that we have is burning up. Corn, soybeans, clovers, brassicas, anything that we've planted is not doing well right now except one food plot. I'm going to tell you what that is, how we do it, and I'm going to show you some real life results on and why it's doing so well. My name is Wes. I run the channel DIY Food Plot Pro. I've got a Bachelor of Science in Agronomy. I farm for a living, and I've got a 2,900 acre whitetail deer hunting outfitter in Western Kentucky where we cannot bait. So we rely on these food plots to hunt, hold, and harvest the mature deer that we are blessed to hunt here in Western Kentucky. It's always amazing to see how these different plots vary year to year. This is something that I've seen many times over the years, is you see these certain food plots that really do well during the wet years. You see food plots that really do well during the dry years. Many of us in the Mid-South and especially the Southeast experience significant droughts very regular, especially as we get into that late summer, July, August, September time period. Very common for us to hit a pretty good dry spell. We are in one right now. The ground is absolutely hard as a rock, zero rain in 30 to 40 days, and 100-degree temperatures to make matters even worse. We are in a kind of a dire situation right now. The corn's drying up, the soybeans are drying up. All the plots that we have are not doing well, -1. When I'm doing the consultations in the wintertime, one of the very first things that I'm looking at when I'm determining what plots go on that tract of land is not what's the most preferred. A lot of folks kind of have that's what they think I'm doing is, oh, it's corn. No, that's not what I'm doing. What I'm looking at when I go to these farms to do these consultations is, what's your yearly rainfall amount? And what is your climate as far as the late summer, early fall period? Okay, that's really important. It's wonderful to have this food plot here that's doing really well in March, April, and May, but it doesn't do you a whole lot of good if you typically hit a dry spell or very regularly hit a dry spell in September, October. That plot completely dries up and there's nothing to hunt over. There's nothing to hold those deer on the property that you're trying to hunt. So mixing and matching food plots to the environments that you have is a huge deal, and that's one of the first things that I do when I go to these properties is I'm looking at rainfall amounts, and I'm looking at rainfall amounts more specifically monthly. I want to see how much rain we're getting in those summer months on an average type year. And that's going to tell me, do we have enough rain to raise this food plot? Do we have enough rain to plant this food plot? Or do we need to go with a more drought tolerant food plots to be able to weather some of those events? So I've told you many times that alfalfa is the most drought tolerant food plot that exists. There's no question about it. This plot of alfalfa, now it does not look great. I have had a tremendously busy summer. We've had a lot of huge projects going on, and honestly, this plot got neglected. It did not get sprayed for insects as much as what it should had. It did not get clipped as much as what it should had. I came in about 2 weeks ago. I sprayed it with a herbicide and insecticide, and I clipped it as well. That's right in the middle of this dry spell. 100 degrees every single day and no rain whatsoever. I came in here and clipped it. What other food plot would you do that to? Would you take your perennial clovers if they were struggling with weeds, if they were struggling with insects? And would you go in there and clip those, or would you feel nervous about doing that? With alfalfa, with an established plot of alfalfa, that doesn't bother me. You can see it's bright green. Now, does it look like it did this spring? No, but there is still a ton of forage out here for these whitetails right now. One thing that I wished I had out here to really make this hit home to show you guys is the exclusion cage. because there is a ridiculous amount of deer poop and turkey poop in this alfalfa food plot right now. It's unbelievable how much poop is in this plot from those animals feeding on this alfalfa right now. But it's like I've told you many times, all the food sources are changing. Everything's drying up. All the protein-rich food sources are, for the most part, done for the year till we get some rain and these temperatures start to cool. Alfalfa's still rocking. She has no trouble going through these dry periods. Alfalfa is much better at fighting off these type of environments than it is those wetter, heavier soils. It likes dry ridges where soil drainage is not a problem. It is extremely drought tolerant so long as you have the soils that drain the water on out. It doesn't like those soils that really hold moisture a really long time. So alfalfa is an excellent choice for a food plot. I really like it, and I like it so much better than clover because of that drought tolerant. That's one main thing. I like it better than clover for many, many reasons actually. But for the main reason I like it is that drought tolerant. This is very common for us to get into these dry spells here in August, September, October. It's very, very common. Clovers right now would be completely burned up. 100%, no question about it. There is no way that the clovers are not burned up right now. And this alfalfa really got neglected all year long and came out and started to manage it a couple weeks ago in the middle of a significant drought and heat wave, and it's doing fine. It's absolutely doing fine. Now, I'm sure I lost part of my stand with my poor management that I did over the summertime. I don't recommend that to y'all. I'm not saying that that's what we ought to do, but I had many, many projects going on this summer, and this just kind of got on the back burner. It got away from me. And if you've watched any of my alfalfa videos, you know how important it is to be out here managing this stand of alfalfa. I have no doubt in my mind this plot would look 10 times better had I sprayed it, kept this plot sprayed, and kept this plot mowed all summer long. I have no doubt that this would look way, way better than what it does right now. And it still looks good. There's no issues here. You can see this does not look like a plot that's been in 100-degree weather for the last month. It looks just fine. It's short because the whitetails are grazing the heck out of it, and also because I just clipped it about 2 weeks ago. If you're looking for a drought tolerant crop and you're up for the management task, because alfalfa, it requires significantly more management than any other food plot by a long shot. Corn, soybeans, clovers, oats, cereal, grains, any of that kind of stuff is not even close. It's not even in the ballpark of the management with alfalfa. The pH has to be right. The soil fertility has to be right. We have to keep these plots clean. We have to keep the insects off of them, and we have to keep them clipped. Several management goals out here that have to be done to have a good stand of alfalfa. But if you can do it and you're up for the management task, what other plots look like this right now? Not very many at all. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Y'all smash that like and subscribe button.